I have two buttholes, the second one could kill me at any moment. Ask me anything. I have a rare medical abnormality called rectal fistula. Basically, my body formed a tunnel through my rectum about an inch away from my real butthole. When I was 16, it was misdiagnosed as a hemorrhoid. 5 years later, I ended up in the ER with a deadly infection spreading throughout my entire body. If I had gone another 5 days without antibiotics, I would have died. After a year of doctor's appointments, 2 MRIs, 1 surgery, and $12,000 of medical bills, I had a 40% chance that the tunnel would reform. It did. I have chosen to wait to return to the doctor since I don't have infinite amounts of money. The infection is back, but I'm still procrastinating. Ask me anything. When people say opinions are like assholes and everyone has one, do you have 2 opinions on everything? And do they ever contradict? First, I'd like to commend you. After 2 years of asshole jokes, this is a new one. Second, I actually enjoy debating a lot. I usually have pretty firm beliefs or opinions on things. However, there are small subjects that I can't agree with myself on. Politics would be the main one. The important thing is that both assholes agree that Trump sucks. This is the weirdest AMA I've ever heard of. You, sir, are the reason doctors need to study through hell. What are the odds of this even happening? And is it something you're born with or just develops after birth? It's a pretty rare medical abnormality. Less than 200,000 cases worldwide per year, if I remember right. It's definitely something that forms, though a double butthole is an actual birth defect. Totally different situation though. Apparently it can form in anyone, though it's less likely in gay men. As my surgeon would say, there's more traffic down there. It hurts pretty often when I poop. It's possible for poop to come out, but not typically. And yes, it definitely takes more time. Usually there's blood. How often do you poop? I'm a pretty avid pooper, not gonna lie. When I was still on antibiotics, I had to go on a high-fiber diet to make me poop more. I've started that back to try to slow things down, usually about 4 times a day at this point. I have the same, but I don't think it's as serious as yours. Also, I live in Germany, so it's all free. No medical bills. Oh, for real? Lit. Reason mine's as bad as it is because it was misdiagnosed and then left untreated. If you can get to it before infection spreads too far, you're gonna be in a much better place. What have been your experiences dealing with it? And super jealous of the debt-free part. God, I wish. Oh, well, I had to put some cream on it for some time. It got better, but is still there. At least it doesn't smell anymore. I'd have it checked out again, I don't know. Ever thought about starting a GoFundMe? I considered it. I have issues accepting random people's money like that though. There are people that need that money way more than I do. I'd rather them donate that money to any number of different charities. It's a weird place to be. That's why I'm procrastinating. I'm trying to do my best to pay it myself. Weird pride issues, I guess. When you say the tunnel would reform, was the surgery for closing or sealing up the first one? Basically, they put a spaghetti noodle-sized rubber piercing in the tunnel so that the infection could drain. Normally, they would have cut the tunnel and sewn it inside of my rectum, but the tunnel went through the sphincter muscles, so there was a 38% chance of me losing control of my bowels for the rest of my life. So the doctor recommended that we just remove the piercing and hope for the best. That failed, so here we are. It's called fistulotomy if you were curious. Why are you still procrastinating though? Would love to go through the entire process again, resulting in another $12,000 of debt. I'm waiting as long as I can so I can afford the process. Maybe a weird question, but did you name the other one? I have a friend with a similar condition and he named number 2 Winston. I'm a teacher with a student named Winston, so I can't look at him the same. Haven't even considered this until I read this. This requires further deliberation. How did they mistake it for a hemorrhoid? Honestly, I have no idea. I've always been interested in the medical field and legitimately argued with the doctor when he said it was a hemorrhoid. He stood his ground. Because I was 16 and just experienced penetration for the first time, I decided, screw it. Poor decision, obviously. I feel for you. I've had a perineal fistula removed after 2 separate fistulectomies about 2 years back. The recovery was a real bitch after due to the area where the knife cuts, and I'm lucky enough to not have it reoccur. Would definitely suggest you get it treated ASAP. Leaving it to fester will really just cause further issues down the road. Agreed. Happy to see the Assholes gang getting represented this thread. How did you shit after your surgery? Very carefully. Then I had to sit down in a little bowl thing and fill it with hot water. This helped clean and drain the infection. I have a perianal fistula that I had 7 different procedures on, still not closed. Currently have a setting in place again. Effing hate it. Mine have reformed after the surgeries. Mine was also intersphincteric, and they said anything too major could result in permanent incontinence. I would probably blow my head off at that point. I wish you the best too. Have you been tested for Crohn's or perianal Crohn's? If you have that, you might be a candidate for Remicade. Oh, you mean you don't like your little rubber tail? LOL. And I haven't yet. Probably should, to be honest. I've had Crohn's for about 12 years now. My main symptom is perennial fistulas. The worst I had leaked blood and pus regularly, and luckily a cream and rest helped it heal without surgery. Recently though, I missed my medicine, hermia, for a few weeks and another fistula has formed. I was bleeding when I last wiped, but the size and pain levels are not bothering me. Have you visited a gastroenterologist or have a colonoscopy or endoscopy or had your GI tract examined? Not yet. Hope everything works out for you. My little brother just turned 18. Around a year ago, he got diagnosed with an almost identical illness. Gladly, his treatment went well, but it was a hard time for our family, especially for my mother. We all hope he never has to go through this again. I wish you from the bottom of my heart only the best. Thank you. On the day of my surgery, my mother just kept telling my surgeon how much better my brother is. Tell your mom you love her. Do you appreciate life more knowing that you could die? Are you more risky in your decisions? I know I would be. By risky, I mean like skydiving or cliff jumping, not gambling away your money or something like that. Depression, anxiety, and a deadly second asshole. It's a confusing trio. On one hand, I don't care if I die, but on the other, I'm anxious about it too. I have become a much more open person through the process. After 20 people have seen your asshole, you really don't have anything to hide. I've always been interested in skydiving, cliff diving, etc., but with the current financial situation, it's not realistic. Lots of misinformation and misunderstandings in this thread. Anal fistula is a known complication of inflammatory bowel diseases, most commonly Crohn's disease. Basically, the body's immune system attacks its own tissue in the GI tract. An abnormal healing of the damaged gut causes adhesions to the surrounding surfaces to form. Gradually, these invade deeper into the surface they touch and poke out the other side of that surface, creating a tube of tissue connecting two things that normally aren't connected. This tube is called a fistula. If one forms between the intestine and the urinary bladder, it's called a vesicocolic fistula. Between the urinary system and the skin, vesicocutaneous fistula. Between the GI tract and the vagina, yes, that happens and you get poop in the vagina, a rectovaginal fistula. And of course, when you get poop in a place it shouldn't be, bladder, vagina, skin, etc., you have a good chance of getting an infection that can spread into the blood and cause sepsis, which is what it sounds like OP had before. At OP, if you're experiencing the same symptoms again, you should absolutely go to the hospital before the infection literally kills you. You cannot recover from a bacterial sepsis just by waiting it out and hoping for the best. You will need antibiotics, and the sooner you get them, the better chance you'll have of recovering fully. I've seen patients left with permanent brain damage because their brain lacked oxygen when their body was going through septic shock. Go to the hospital, damn. Anyway, the information of a fistula between the GI tract and the skin is well documented, so I thought I'd share some insight for all the confused commenters. Sorry this is happening to you, OP. Thank you. Couldn't remember everything that the doctor said. Appreciate you clearing the confusion.